Hello. I'm just trying to, I'm pretty unprepared today, so let me just get a bit of that brightness. I'm going, hi, welcome to Tarot and Tea Tuesday. So I've been down, I feel a bit flustered because I've been down near the bay and there's been a lot of wind around and it just made me feel a little bit like windswept, which is a nice feeling. And also just getting back from there in traffic and being a little bit vague on the road because I was rushing a little bit to get back in time. But anyway, here we are, only 4 minutes late. We have, yesterday was the peak aspect of the dark of the moon. So happy New Year, all you Taurian folk. And I feel like yesterday, so I think the peak was like wee hours of the morning, maybe early morning. And for me, I just felt pretty much normally we sort of go throughout the day without really, we might focus on different parts of our bodies if we focus on our bodies at all. Aside from, the urges to eat and pass water or have a bowel motion or, I don't know, something is in pain, they're usually the ways we pay attention to our body. Not everybody, not all the time, but yesterday felt like the opposite extreme for me, where I was in my toes, I was in my calf muscles, I was in my elbows, I was in my hips and my back, I was in like the physical aspects of me. I was just there in my body. It was quite distracting actually because, and I don't normally, I guess, usually I can function pretty well at a dark of the moon. I've had periods when I used to get my period around the time of the dark moon, I couldn't function very well. But in terms of being scattered and just needing to shut down, but that hasn't happened for a while. And I feel like, but yesterday my body was so distracting. I just, I had to keep it moving. I had to keep being mindful of being in it and what it was doing. So it was a very interesting day for me. I don't know, let me know how you all felt if you had a similar thing going on. I usually really love the Taurian dark moon, partly because it means autumn has definitely arrived. But also I think I gravitate towards things that are very grounding, and it is a very grounding time. So I do appreciate that feeling of being like right in myself yesterday. And it did bring up a lot of, it brought up a lot of personal, meaningful, reflective moments for me. So I hope you all had a lovely dark of the moon. We're still in the Taurus phase of the moon currently, but it's just that beginning, that crescent moon, new moon sort of phase, the start of this next cycle. One of the things that I was feeling a lot was my throat. It feels a bit puffy and sore and a bit achy all over. But I make a tincture out of thyme and I use it as a mouthwash. Also when I'm feeling really sick, because it's such a great, thyme is the herb we're drinking today. It's such a great antimicrobial, antiviral, antibacterial, and it's got that, when something smells like it's doing those things, well, that's what thyme is. Everyone knows it, I'm sure everyone knows it. And it's such a simple thing, but it's so beautiful and so rewarding in its benefits. And I just got a whole bunch of it last week from Susan, thank you, from her garden, to make some more tincture because I've almost run out. And it's coming into winter and I don't like to be without thyme tincture during the winter. Oh my gosh, and the tea is so beautiful. Free tea. Highly recommend. So get some of that into you. And the theme around, we've been working with this artist, Will Worthington, for like, there's 4 decks that I've realized of this artist. And we're going to be, I've used 3 of them already, and we're going to be looking at the last of them that I have. This is the Druid Plant Oracle. So he has done this deck and the Druid Craft Tarot with Philip and Stephanie Cargon, and he did the Druid Animal deck we used last week, I think, and the Wildwood Tarot with Mark Ryan and John Matthews. I think he did anyway. This artist I really, really enjoy. The symbols are quite rich. I still use the book a fair bit for these because there's so much information embedded in the pictures, and because I grew up with bastardized versions of the stories that come from this culture. So I do like to explore them deeper. I mean, look at that, like, for symbolism. They're really lovely cards. Highly recommend this artist. He's amazing. So we had one question from Jessie, thank you, about, wait, I feel like there might have been another. Let me just check quickly. Nope. Can't see another question there. So it was kind of, I didn't write it down. I should write these things down. It was kind of about parenting and staying whole while you're sacrificing your body and your life, being a parent, and integrating yourself into that role, making sure you're honoring who you are while you're performing that role. So let's pull the card and see. I hope I got that question right, Jessie. Okay. Deep in the shadows, right down on the floor of the forest, we have this little cutie called the Fir Club Moss. I'm loving all of the green. It's a very soothing card to look at if we look at the macro aspect. I don't know what that little flower is down there. I'm sure it has some kind of significance. But the first thing that I'm getting is, like, if you look at the whole, because we're talking about, if we're talking about the question, we look at the whole picture there. There's so many different aspects to what makes this, what is in this image. The overall vibe I get is layers and dynamic combinations of things, and just the richness that it takes to create environments and a life, basically. I've been talking to a friend of mine, Bronte, I don't know if she's listening to this, but she does quite a bit of field work, and I remember doing it too when I was doing it in uni, but when I was in high school too, and you kind of get these menial tasks where you're just counting one thing in an environment, or you've got like 1 meter squared and you've got to document everything in it, that kind of aspect, scientific, part of the scientific method that documents and quantifies things. One thing that's really great about that is just really paying attention to the minutiae, to the detail of what's going on. And that's the vibe I get from this card. So if we're thinking about that in terms of the question, I would say when you're performing roles within a community or a family structure, perhaps it's important to not just look at who you are within the dynamic, but just to look at the dynamic and then and then who you are, and then how others sort of shift and work around that. And if something changes within that dynamic, watching how you adjust and change, but having you separate from it, like being us looking at this card and seeing the whole aspect as opposed to the separate parts. So looking at ourselves within the whole. And then also another layer of that is recognizing that, if the role is parenting, that is one aspect of a dynamic that makes up you. The trick with parenting is it's hard to find the time, the energy, and the space to remember. And one thing I did a lot of when my youngest started school was this remembering process. So bringing back parts of myself, calling home parts of myself, remembering parts of myself. Anyway, so but I could only do that because I kept reminders around me. Like, I don't know, you can see in the background, I keep a lot of crap. But those things help me to remember parts of me that are important. I fill my house with these things. Some people maybe make things that represent aspects of themselves or aspects of themselves in a certain time. I think those things are all important. Also, people, reflecting on people who come and go through your life, houses that you've lived in. There's ways of holding the thread of the holistic dynamic of what makes up one human, but not having to be all of that at once, I guess is what I'm saying. And this card here, it looks very soothing. I feel like it's meant to be easy. It's meant to be an easy thing to be a part of the dynamic, to show like this is in the foreground. This is the bit that where our attention is drawn to at the time. So let's say motherhood, if that's what we're looking at, or parenthood. But it doesn't deny the fact that it is supported by these rocks, and it is growing from the soil that we can't even see, that's like deep down behind. It is reaching for a sun that is somewhere beyond the scope of what we have access to. It is blending into a bigger environment of trees and that wooded area in the background. And it's this tiny thing. It's like, I think this type of moss, it looks to me to be ancient, like it comes from the period of time when dinosaurs were still around, and that and it's a fir club moss, so I'm assuming it's as old as like fir trees and things like that, which go back a very long way. So it's almost like this thread that connects us to our ancestry, our like the physiological purpose of being alive, if that makes sense, is parenthood, and other aspects of particular roles and archetypes that need to be fulfilled within a community setting. They are, however, like just one aspect, and another time you may have to bring up another part of you into the foreground of this image. Like, I don't know, say this little flower to me is like something that might be making its way into the foreground to be a bit louder than everything else. And I feel like that's part of, who we are. Things kind of like become more powerful or less powerful. The hardest part, I guess, is figuring out, as we sort of shift and change with different roles that we may play or take on, the hardest part is working out. Those roles are kind of there. They excite us. They drag us into the reality of what they are. They flirt with us. They inspire us. We want to be a part of what's being initiated and what's beginning and what's coming. The harder part is letting go of what no longer inspires, and what, a lot of things do just fizzle out, but some things actually require a bit of force, a bit of work to relinquish and get rid of, or even to sort of adapt and change. Like my role of mother at the moment is about not being the same kind of mother that I was to little kids. When my kids became teenagers, that was a bit of a transition for me. And I guess, when you have babies and toddlers, the role of mother and parenthood shifts when they become kids, and then when they become teenagers, and then when they become young adults, and then when they become adults and parents of their own. So I don't know, I guess the whole idea here is that we need to remember that these smaller aspects of our whole selves are just as vital and will pop up as part of the whole. Smaller as in, like, I don't know, I don't want to diminish motherhood, parenthood, but just these simpler aspects, I guess, of ourselves that maybe aren't always as attractive will pop up and be the foreground. We do have a calling to what draws up from our roots. We may not see it, we may not understand it, but we are embedded in the roots of not only who we are, but who our people are, and who we are as human, and who we are as part of nature. I guess the other thing is recognizing the supports and growing, instead of growing away from them or growing in spite of them, grow with them, grow towards them, grow through them. Like, it's just kind of like, makes me think of water filling the earth. It's that kind of like just easing into the space and easing into the environment. But yeah, that's, as a general kind of read, without the question, I would say that there's something new and exciting there. And allowing ourselves to sort of like grow into it within the environment and spaces that we have is, and with the moon being a new moon, some good things happening. So anyway, rambly, thank you. And that's the last of these decks now with the Will Worthington series. So here's to that. Here is to time. And this really cute cup. I don't know if you can see it. Inside, it's got some words inside. Ooh. Inside it says, the cucumber is nature's telescope. With it, we see the universe. This came from Sylvie. And I'm pretty sure in Latin it says, in the cucumber we trust. So here's to cucumbers and to the Fir Club Moss and to time. Have a great week. See you next week.